Today is day 10 of the Karen Read trial. I'm going to give you my daily recap. It was actually day 10 yesterday, and I went out with my friends last night, so I'm a little bit behind on filming the recap, but I did listen to everything yesterday. And I really hate being behind, so I'm also going to be doing my makeup and getting ready right now too, so just bear with me. Lieutenant Gallagher is back on the stand, and he's being questioned by Alan Jackson. He says that he did not go inside the home at 34 Fairview to do any type of search inside the home, and he says that he didn't give the homeowner any special treatment even though he was a Boston police officer. He searched the lawn. It was about a 50 square foot area, but he did not find the missing hat or John O'Keefe's missing shoe or 46 pieces of bright red taillight. So there's some questioning about Kelleher, and this was his boss technically. I think he's the deputy chief of the Canton PD, and he lives kind of catty corner across the street to the Albert residence. He has an Arlo home camera, and they never asked for that footage because he says he has familiarity with these types of cameras and he knows that it only aims downward to film the porch area. But he is the house that they went over to get the Solo cups from. They begin some questioning of his relationship with Brian Higgins. Brian Higgins was ATF, but he did have an office inside the Canton PD, so they've shared meals together, they've gone out for drinks together, he knows who Brian Higgins is, and he has now considered him a friend. He says that he learned that Brian Higgins was there about 24 hours after the incident, so this was after Canton PD had recused themselves. He never questioned Brian Higgins because he didn't know that Higgins was inside the house at the time. He says that, like other Canton police officers, Higgins does have access to the Sally Port at Canton PD, and that's where Karen Read's vehicle was brought. Jackson goes back and he asks if he ever saw a dog there, and he says nope, never saw a dog at the Albert residence. We start talking about Karen Read's vehicle inside the Sally Port, and there was no pictures of her car before January 30th, I believe. The SUV arrived on the 29th, but they didn't photograph the car because they were recused from the investigation. And he says I wasn't working that day either, so I didn't take any pictures. This is the first picture that we have of Karen's vehicle, and you can see the taillight there. It's definitely cracked there. We also go over some of these pictures from inside the Sally Port. This is the brown paper bag with the Solo cups of the blood snow mixture in there, and there appears to be like a rag or like a paper towel on the ground, and Karen Read's car is right there too. So Jackson is alluding to the fact that you have this DNA evidence that's not sealed right here on the car next to Karen Read's vehicle. So ultimately, John O'Keefe's DNA is found on the vehicle. They'll go over that, I'm sure, later on in testimony with some of the experts. But obviously, it could have been put on there by anybody. He says at this time that there was a criminologist there, and that's when he was passing off the evidence to them. But he does admit last proceeding that this is a recipe for disaster. Into some straightforward back and forth redirect from Hank Brennan. He said, did anyone ever suggest John O'Keefe had been in a fight? He says no. Were there any other footprints in the snow besides Officer Lank? He says no. Did you see any dog prints? No. Did it look like anyone had been dragged in that area? He says no. Did you have any evidence from anyone, any of the witnesses, that John O'Keefe went into the home? They said no. There's an objection in a sidebar, and then there's some questioning about getting a search warrant, and he says that he had no probable cause to get the search warrant, and they were recused from the investigation. He had no need to search the house. So then he's done for the day. We do play another set of ID documentary clips. I don't like this for Karen. I mean, when I watched this documentary, I was like, the more she talks, the more guilty she looks. And they're using all of this in the courtroom. So there's a clip about Karen saying that John took her full vodka soda that was in the cup holder of her car. So that is the cup that they found in the lawn, or that they're alluding to, because they've actually never compared it with the glassware at the waterfall. Next witness is Robert Gilman. He's a meteorologist, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. I put this on 1.5 speed, and I literally could not have cared less about what he was saying. He was testifying to the fact that it was snowing and it was cold. And if you don't know that already, then I don't know what to tell you, but it was very boring. I did read somewhere that a lot of the jurors were taking notes, but it's just like a lot of the measured snowfall totals. After him, we have Nick Guarino back on the stand. There is more extraction data from John O'Keefe's phone entered. This is between him and Karen Read, and he pulls up this PowerPoint presentation. It's actually very easy to follow, a lot easier than it was the last trial. And it's entered into the evidence. We do know that Karen Read's phone connected to John O'Keefe's Wi-Fi, and the router at his home at One Meadows Ave at 12:36:39 a.m. That's a big deal because she had to have been around 300 feet within range of that router at 12:36, and the point of impact that they used in the blood draw and that they're saying that when John O'Keefe got hit by the car was 12:45, which would have not been possible if she connected to the Wi-Fi at John's home at 12:36. I've been loving this lip stain, so I'm gonna put this on, but it's like blue until I wash it off, so don't freak out. All right, ignore this. But we have all of the phone calls here starting from 1. It goes to 50 something at the very end, which is actually crazy. But the first phone call starts at 12:33. This is after she had already left the house because she connected to the Wi-Fi at 12:36, and it takes about 6 minutes to get to John O'Keefe's house. So at the first voicemail, we have, it's Karen screaming, and she says, "John, I effing hate you." She uses the word though. The next voicemail that we hear, it's some beeping sound. It does sound like Karen's car is potentially like backing in, or it could be the home alarm system beeping when you're there like putting in the code. We start to see all of the text messages that she's sending him. She was threatening him, saying that she was leaving his kids at home alone because he's not answering. A lot of the voicemails are saying like that he's hooking up with another girl, that he's a pervert, that he's using her, and you can tell that she's really upset. So there's a break in the phone calls between 1:18 and 4:38, and I think this is when she falls asleep on the couch. I think she wakes up at 4:38 a.m. and then she starts calling him over and over again. And like I said, it goes up to about 50 something phone calls. And there's another voice message at 6:03 a.m. This is actually when she finds John's body. You can hear that she maybe was calling John when she was in Carrie Roberts' car on the way, drops the phone, you hear the windshield wipers going, you eventually hear Jen McCabe calling 911 and speaking to them, and you hear her screaming, "Carrie, Carrie," in the background. They go to lunch break and then they come back, and it's the defense's turn to question Guarino, and they say no further questioning, and they just let him go. There's another ID documentary clip played at this time, and it's when Karen says, "Could I have hit him? Could I have clipped him and incapacitated him in some way?" And it kind of just leaves your head spinning. The next witness is Charles Ray. He is not responding, I guess, and then they call someone else, and then he responds, so there's like a lot of confusion with who's being called. But he's the patrol shift commander, and he actually is the one who responded and did the wellness check at One Meadows Ave because they learned that there were possibly children there home alone. And we do get some dash cam video from his vehicle. This is what it looked like on the drive to One Meadows. This is around 8 a.m., 8:22 a.m. This is as he's pulling into the driveway. Karen Read's vehicle is there. He arrived at 8:23 a.m. He said he went inside the home and was there for about 5 minutes, but everyone there was okay, and the defense doesn't have any questions for him. I tried to zoom in on the video, and then they showed this screenshot which shows Karen's taillight there. And now they're calling Kevin O'Hara as the next witness, so I'm going to go to part 2.